What is going on, everyone? Mike Sparacino here, a.k.a. Shades, alongside Brendan Mulroy, a.k.a. The Big Goon, a.k.a. Mulgoon, back bringing you another episode of Backup Blueshirts. And we're going to talk about three things today. First off, Brendan, you have anything to say that I introduced you?
What's going on, guys? I'll let Mike continue.
Okay. We're gonna talk about three things today.
Well, I'm waiting for you. Then I'll say what I have to say.
All right. So three things today. One, we're gonna talk about the Rangers games this past week, as we always do. Two, we're gonna talk about the uptick in goal scoring and point producing in the NHL right now. And three, we're gonna talk about this first: the Edmonton Oilers firing general manager Peter Chiarelli. And, of course, my phone has to freaking go off right now because I forgot to put it on vibrate. Gosh darn it.
Edmonton's fans, thank God. I think that's what they're saying right now.
I just want to bring up Peter Chiarelli's trade history. I'm not going to go through all the trades, but I'm going to bring up some ones that I found interesting.
Well, you want to bring up the point that as a GM... He's obviously made some bad moves, but even before he was on Edmonton,
yes, he made some pretty bad moves.
Yeah, obviously the biggest one, I'm sure the fans know, but we'll get into it in a second.
This isn't really an important one. This was just a one that I found kind of interesting. When he was with the Bruins, he acquired and then traded away the draft pick that became T.J. Brody. I just wanted to throw that one in there.
He became, Bruins general manager in, August 2013 or something like that? I think it was August 2013. And
For the Bruins? No. He was the Bruins general manager for 11 years.
Oh, shit.
I found that out last night.
Shit.
Yeah,
no,
that was a pleasant surprise for me, too.
Oh, did they let him? Oh, no, okay. I think I misread what I was reading then. So you're right.
No, I found that out. I was like, he was 11 years?
Oh, well,
Jeez.
that's my fault. That's my mistake.
I just want to point out that the 06 draft, which was a key draft for them for that cup-winning team, guess who had a big part to do with that?
Who?
Current general manager of the Rangers, Jeff Gorton. I'm not even joking, not trying to make a joke. That is a legit point. So...
Well, go on, continue.
I just want to say that Jeff Gorton, thank you for being able to recognize talent. He traded away Chris Versteeg, a Bruins draft pick, in a losing deal, and Versteeg went on to win a cup with Chicago. This was an interesting one. He traded the draft pick that became Jamie Benn away for Adam McQuaid, but that McQuaid was on the cup-winning team, so he can be forgiven for that. But the funny thing about that draft pick, Columbus later traded that draft pick to Dallas, a la Jamie Benn on the Dallas Stars. He traded Phil Kessel for 3 draft picks, 2 of which were Tyler Seguin and Dougie Hamilton. So initially that trade was a win for them, ironically. And also ironically, they traded Blake Wheeler away the year they won the Cup. And look what Blake Wheeler is doing in Winnipeg right now. And they got a player in return who was on the Cup-winning team in Rich Peverley. Long-term, bad trade, but short-term, it won the Cup, so he can be forgiven for that one. He traded Joe Colburn and the draft pick that became Ricard Raquel for Thomas Caverly. And from the video I was watching last night of a guy who literally recapped all of Peter Chiarelli's trades between his Bruins and Oilers tenure, initially he said, by the time Boston won the Cup, Caverly wasn't even that important of a player, so that's a loss for them, in my opinion. He traded Johnny Boychuk for 3 draft picks, 2 of which are one current Ranger current Bruin Brandon Carlo, and current New York Rangers defenseman Ryan Lindgren. He came over in that Rick Nash deal. We ripped him off, just putting that out there. And he traded Brett Connolly for 2-0 draft picks. Brett Connolly would go on to win the Stanley Cup last year with the Washington Capitals. That was just the Bruins trade. A couple interesting ones in there. That was the Bruins trades.
And now that you bring it up, it would make sense that he was on them, you said, for 11 years? That's a decently lengthy... Yeah, that makes...
Let's move on to the Oilers because it gets more cringeworthy. The first deal he made as Edmonton general manager, He traded for Griffin Reinhart a first and a second round pick. That first round pick became Matthew Barzal. So that is already an insane loss. He traded Justin Schultz for a third round pick. That's another loss. I'm going to skip this one and come back to it, but he traded Jordan Eberle for Ryan Strome. That is another big loss. He traded Ryan Strome for Ryan Spooner, who was put on waivers this past week and passed through waivers. That deal completely backfired.
Yeah. Well, I guess unless you're a Rangers fan like us, and then you're like, okay, you know what? It actually wasn't a bad move after all.
Yes, it was.
And we were saying even with the Strome trade, like he's actually, I think he's been decent for the Rangers. I think we're saying like he's got more.
Initially, he was like, okay, you know what? This is probably a win for neither team in this deal.
Even from a Rangers standpoint, though, like you were just saying. But even from a Rangers standpoint, like they were the same in point production when they made the trade. So in terms of value, I think it was pretty even. I mean,
at the time of the trade,
exactly.
Yes.
Now I think the Rangers actually made out for sure.
Absolutely.
Because Spooner, I think what happened is that Strome found his game again with the Rangers, and Spooner just didn't.
Yeah,
with
basically.
Edmonton. Yeah.
And it's funny how, especially after he put up 16 points in 20 games last season for the Rangers.
Yeah, he was good for us last year. That's why I think when they made the trade initially and then he played and you were like, you know what? Like, okay. I mean, I think you were saying we should have traded him in the offseason anyway.
Looking back, though, we made the right decision to re-sign him and then trade him for Strome. Because we would have traded him for a draft pick who would not be here right now. Yeah, and the trade that I skipped out on, and I'm going to come back to right now, I actually have a short story about this trade. Me and Brendan were on the phone on this day, which was a very action-packed day for the National Hockey League. We were talking about the PK Subban for Shea Weber deal. And as I hung up the phone on Brendan, I get the infamous alert or notification from ESPN or the NHL, I don't even remember at this point, that the Edmonton Oilers trade 1-for-1 future MVP winger Taylor Hall, again 1-for-1 to the New Jersey Devils for arguably second pairing defenseman Adam Larson.
Yeah.
And I called Brendan right back, and he was just like, I could tell when you picked up the phone that you were just like, all right, this kid's calling me for a reason. This kid never does this. You just like answer the phone, you're like, yo, what's up? And I literally just like said to you, the Devils just got Taylor Hall for Adam Larson. And you were just like, you're kidding me.
That makes, yeah. I mean, if you were a Devils fan, that may have been like one of the best days for them.
I just want to know, how the hell do you trade Taylor Hall for a second pairing defenseman and not get anything else in that deal?
No picks or anything. And the funny thing is that like initially when he got on the Devils Hall, he was kind of like, he had an iffy season the first one.
Yeah, but it was a transition period.
But even so, that trade just, it doesn't make sense on paper. It doesn't make sense when you think about it at all. It really just doesn't make sense. And now it definitely doesn't make sense that Hall won the MVP last year.
And look at
it makes sense if you're a Devils fan.
Also, look at the current state that the Oilers are in. That team has gotten, even with Connor McDavid, they somehow managed to get worse because of that Eberle and the Hall deals. It's like, what GM in their right mind makes those deals? Like, I don't understand it from a management standpoint, a player standpoint, a fan standpoint. I just don't get it. Do you?
No. Well, I think they finally realize now.
Yeah, and
that's why he's gone.
This morning at around 3 a.m., I found out that the Oilers did in fact fire Peter Chiarelli. And this was literally the day after that he gave Mikko Koskinen a 3-year deal at $4.5 million. Their goalie, $4.5 million AAV.
I didn't even know he was their goalie.
He has 30 games of NHL experience, and they signed him to a 3-year, $13.5 million deal. Yikes!
Yeah, yikes. That's really the only thing that you could say. Well, now you know why he's fired. I think that's pretty good proof.
Well, I mean, with the way the team is in, and they were thinking about trading their first-round pick this year for current help. I'm like, you don't,
makes no sense.
one, you don't have the prospects or the overall prospect pool, and two, like that's not gonna help you. That's gonna just hurt you even more long term.
And like at least to go back to the point what you were saying when he was on the Bruins, it's like at least you can make some sort of like defense for the moves that he made, and that's only because they won the Stanley Cup.
Yes.
So that kind of gets him off the hook in a way.
He had a very good handful of good deals.
Yeah.
The first couple years.
But think about, I mean, then when he came into Edmonton, right? Which was what? Was that 26? Right?
He was there for like 3.5-ish years, almost 4 years.
So probably like what,
2016-ish.
I think that's where I was going. In the beginning, I think I just I don't know what I was.
It might be 2015.
That's what I think I was getting at in the beginning. I just completely messed it up. But yeah, he's at least with those moves on Boston, they won that cup. I mean, with Edmonton, it's like now who knows where they're headed in terms of direction of the team. I mean,
yeah, seriously.
I mean, yeah, it's great they have one of like the best players of all time, arguably, with Connor McDavid, but at the same time,
they've failed miserably to build a competent team around him.
Yeah.
Not even a good team, a competent team.
Yeah. I mean, we were saying even before, I mean, it never made sense to me in the fact that Connor McDavid said he would have took less money than what they wanted to give him. So unless it was like, I was just thinking about this the other.
Speaking of that, from what I remember hearing, he was willing to accept a deal, like a 5-year deal worth $8.5 million a year, but they were just like, no, we're giving you an 8-year deal for as much money as we can give you.
Yeah, I mean, I don't get like. If
players, good for McDavid.
Yeah, no, of course, but I'm just saying, like, in terms of thinking about it from the next couple of years standpoint ahead. Like, if your player is willing to take a pay cut to have better players around him,
especially
player
on Connor McDavid's level.
I mean, does $8.5 million sound like it's a little less for McDavid? Yeah, definitely. He probably should have been making at least 10, but still, what does he make now? Like 13?
12.5 is cap.
12.5. Yeah, that's insane.
And they screwed that one up too, because if it wasn't for that deal, Draisaitl would not have gotten $8.5 million a year. They would have to pay him McDavid,
less.
Then Draisaitl. It should have been the other way around.
Yeah, you think that? Well, I mean, we were just saying before we even started that you think that Draisaitl's overpaid to begin with.
Yes,
which I would agree with you.
So. Because his point production away from McDavid, it's not there most of the time.
Yeah, I mean, what we did see before is that he has 27 goals this year, so he's obviously putting up goals.
Yeah, because he's playing with McDavid again.
But
McDavid just on another level this year.
That honestly gets to a point that we'll bring up later in the year, is that it's interesting just to see how much point production has gone up.
Yeah,
it kind of ties into what we're going to talk about later.
All right, well, we just wasted 13.5 minutes talking about the Edmonton Oilers. Let's talk about the Rangers.
It had to be talked about, though, because it brings, I mean, listen, it leads us into the Rangers, right? Strong. But,
yeah, true.
Rangers actually on a little 3-game win streak right now, right? 3 games. 3-game win streak. Carolina, we beat.
Yes,
Chicago, and then Boston. So, like after the Carolina game and the Chicago game, I'm like, let's not really get that excited about this because they're not really that good.
No, honestly, I mean, year after year, Carolina is just like, blah.
Yeah,
that's really how I can put it.
Yeah, and then now that we're talking about GMs and stuff, I still. The whole trading Skinner didn't really make much sense to me. But
that was a horrible deal.
That was a robbery. I mean, we see how much it's paid off for Buffalo in the end. But
you want to know why? Because they drafted Svechnikov and they brought in Ferland, and they're like, oh, a couple of these guys are expendable. But at the same time, I'm going, you guys have enough trouble scoring. You just basically replaced guys. You didn't add anything. So... that's another conversation in itself.
And then the most impressive of those 3 wins is probably over Boston.
Absolutely, yes, it was.
Which looking at the game, that was Hank's game.
Yes, it was.
Honestly, that was just a Hank performance all around. And
that's how he's been playing most of the season.
And we had seen Hank's stats against Boston. You would understand that this is just what you would.
He loves playing.
This is what you would expect from Hank against Boston.
It's like
he's
Hank playing against Boston is basically like Hank playing against any team that Jimmy Howard is hypothetically on, because Hank just goes off against both teams.
And for some reason Howard's just a beast against the Rangers. But I saw the stat, and they had it in the Rangers game, and it was all-time goals against. It was goals against or save. I think it was goals against average against Boston all-time. Hank was the leader. I think he had like 2 or something like that.
Oh wow,
that was just what his goals against. Well, I saw it on MSG. Like they had brought it up like at the start of the period or something like along those lines. But yeah, his performances against Boston are just filthy. And that was just another example of it. We can get into the Carolina game though.
Let's get into the Chicago game first. That was the first game.
No, Carolina.
No, it was Chicago. Pretty sure, wasn't it?
No, I just looked it up. It was Carolina. Yeah, you would know. You were at the game, which we predicted was going to be a win for the Rangers.
Oh yes, I predicted a 3-2 shootout loss, and they end up scoring 7.
Yeah, 6-2. We won. 6-2.
Oh yeah, that's right. 2 goals for all 3 of Zibanejad, Buchnevich, and D'Angelo.
Yeah.
And so honestly, that was awesome.
Going into that game, we knew it was going to be a win. So, Shades, what's your record now?
5-0 this season.
So, listen, whenever everybody wants to contribute to Shades' GoFundMe for season tickets,
I'm just going to say this. Just going to say this. I'm 5-0 this season. I have 2 games left on the season, one of which I already have a ticket for, physically. The other one, my friend has the ticket, but I'm going to pay him night of the game. If I win those 2 games,
if you go 7-0
one of which is the 94 reunion game, February 8th against the Carolina Hurricanes, I think I should be rewarded in some way, shape, or form.
Yeah,
I would just throwing it out there.
I think that there should be a GoFundMe page for season tickets for Shades, just so the Rangers can go undefeated next year and win the Stanley Cup. But
can I also get some road games in there too?
Well, that's what I'm saying.
Road trips?
Every single game Shades has to go to.
82-0.
82-0 season.
I mean, I'll put my family in debt, but
pretty sure it's never been done. But
hey, there's a first for everything.
Exactly. But we'll talk about. I wanted to touch on the Carolina game because it just seemed like all around that the Rangers had it was dominant. It was actually a dominant game.
Yes,
really. We were dominant on the power play.
Yes.
Zibanejad, everybody was scoring, which is nice to see.
That was a 4-point night from Zibanejad again,
4-point night. Yeah. And also to bring up Mika Zibanejad, he also was in the 3 stars of the week.
Yes,
for NHL.
He was second star of the week, if I remember correctly.
So that's good to see from him. Obviously, again, some big point production. Yeah, I mean, the Carolina game, it's hard for me to remember whether or not I saw anything that was actually wrong with the Rangers' performance. It was honestly just a dominant all-around.
The Hurricanes actually outshot us 36-28.
Really?
Yeah. But the thing is, like, I don't remember many of those being high-danger chances.
Yeah.
There were definitely a few, but there weren't that many.
Which is actually nice to see for once, because usually it's the other way around.
Yeah.
But, and then we went on to Chicago. Unfortunately, Shades wasn't at that game, but it didn't matter because we still won 4-3.
Hell yeah. Let's be honest, tickets for that game were probably through the roof for no reason anyway.
And you know what? And there was also, I wrote it down, but I didn't bring. Well, and then you also sent me a screenshot after the game because I remember I didn't write it down, but I have it up just because I thought this was kind of important that we were talking about Lundqvist. But Henrik Lundqvist moved into a tie for 6th place. Well, which he ended up breaking. He ended up breaking, but in that game. So now Hank is 6th place in the NHL careers wins list, which is nice.
And there's only one active goalie ahead of him, Roberto Luongo. And Luongo's going to probably move into like 3rd either this year or he only needs like. Yeah, it's very little. I think it was like 7. For some reason, 2 numbers are in my head right now. It's either like 7 wins he needs or 13. I saw the list, but I don't remember off the top of my head.
But he'll most probably, if not this season, next season for sure. And I think once he does that, I mean, I don't know. I would say his career is probably coming to get. Not to get off topic, but yeah.
Well, I mean, I feel bad for him that he's stuck on Florida.
Yeah, that's unfortunate.
At least right now. But one thing I want to take away from the Carolina Hurricanes game is Buchnevich scores 2 goals. Quinn even says in a post-game press conference, I want to get him more ice time, but I want to see more from him 5-on-5. But in the same time, I'm thinking in my head, you want to see more from him 5-on-5. Why are you putting him on a line with Cody McLeod?
Yeah, because exactly.
It's like,
I mean, listen,
that's basically, you're contradicting yourself right there.
And that line with Cody McLeod's just not going to get any play. Not to throw McSnipe, I should say, under the bus, not to break any podcast rules here.
You want to know? I actually have something good to say about Cody McLeod about the Chicago game, but we'll come back to that.
Yeah, but I think some of the more important takeaways overall that we want to take away from the 3-game skid that we had, I think the most important one moving forward is Zuccarello.
Yes.
Which we saw he was on the upswing. So now I think these last couple games he's really starting to play.
And I honestly
think
he's on the massive upswing right now because he looks like he's a completely different player.
He's on the Zuccarello that we normally know, Zuccarello. I honestly think it was like
the Zuccarello we all know and love.
I think it was just him getting that out that it was upsetting him.
Yeah.
Like to the press. I think that was like a big release for him because then ever since he did that, he's been playing great.
Yeah, and he had a talk with management and that really just settled the dust on everything.
Yeah. I mean, listen, like we said, he's played for the Rangers for 9 years. So, it's unfortunate that he might go, but at the same time, I think he would like to see at least the Rangers get something good in return for him.
Hey, look,
I would hope, but
I don't want Zuccarello traded personally, but I know the trade is coming, and I'm still going to cry when that day happens. I've been saying this for years, and I will shed at least one tear. And I am not afraid to admit that.
Same here. It's going to be a sad day, but
I'm not going to cry as much as when the Rangers lost in 2014, but different story.
Yeah.
You want to move on to the Chicago game?
Yeah, we can move on to the Chicago game.
All right, because I got something good to say about Cody McLeod. Yo,
all right, you go ahead. You're so excited.
Dude, there must have been a bounty out against Taves and Seabrook.
He
was out to claim heads that game.
He was throwing boom.
He was out to claim heads
it's great. It's honestly great when Cody McLeod goes out there and lays people out, as long as he doesn't take penalties. I'm fine with that.
Same.
I'm good with him coming out in the first 2 minutes and laying guys out.
Also, he almost sniped one that game. It was actually a pretty decent shot.
Well, speaking of filthy, obviously the biggest takeaway too from that game is Heedle's coast-to-coast filth goal, which then he obviously replicated in the Boston game. But
that was against Yoki Haru too.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah. You're talking about the defenseman, right?
Yes.
On Chicago, young kid too. He's also 19, isn't he?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I'm pretty sure he was the 29th overall pick last year.
Mm-hmm.
So it just goes to show you you never know with late first round picks.
Yeah.
They could be absolutely nothing, or they could be one of the underrated rising star.
Yeah.
In the league.
But I was glad to see the Rangers come out with a win at least, and on the road especially.
Yes.
Which was nice. Honestly, I feel like those are my biggest takeaways.
Zuccarello also scored in that Chicago game.
Defense wasn't bad. Speaking of defense, we wanted to bring up the fact that they've
only gave up 27 shots.
And we've seemed to be
Which
decent.
In today's NHL, only giving up 27 shots is good.
I feel like you wanted to make a point that the Rangers have been good with Lindgren, so I'll let you do that.
The Rangers are 3-0 with Ryan Lindgren in the lineup. Ex-Boston prospect Ryan Lindgren, who we acquired in the Rick Nash trade.
Yep, that was it.
And honestly, he played pretty good.
Yeah,
these 3 games.
What I've seen from him.
He didn't don't get me wrong. His first game wasn't perfect because he wasn't making huge plays and everything, but he didn't play bad by any means. The second game, which was the Chicago game, I thought he played really well. Really well. I mean, for a second career NHL game as a 20-year-old, he played pretty well.
Listen, like we were saying on the last episode, at this point, it just makes no sense to not have him in the lineup, especially now that they've won 3 games with him in the lineup.
Let him play.
Let the guys rest that need to rest at this point. What's the point of forcing them? What's the point of forcing them in the lineup?
No, that's
especially if they're going to get
the reason why they didn't send Heedle and Howden down over this break to play in Hartford, because they just Howden especially needs that mental break. He's fried.
And they did send down Gorgiev though.
yet to play.
Yeah, which I don't mind that. Even
No,
though,
neither
oddly
do I.
enough, which is kind of funny because the last time he went down to Hartford, he lost every single game that he played. But then he came up and played lights out for us. So I don't know if that got him angry or something. But and then we'll move on to the Boston
Yeah,
game.
it's funny because like funny thing about the Chicago game is like they swarmed us right out of the gate, and then like once we settled everything down, we were the better team.
Yeah. Well, you know what? Actually, this is a nice point that I want to bring up about Chicago, and this is courtesy of Steve Valiquette breaking them down. It's actually really interesting that you said that they came out of the gate pretty. You know, what you're saying, they're aggressive, right? Is that what you were
Chicago,
saying?
yeah.
Yeah, and
No, we were pinned in our zone for the first couple minutes.
He's actually, Steve Valiquette brought up a good point, which I don't think I really would have noticed until he pointed it out. But he makes a good point in the fact that they actually get like so overly aggressive with the forecheck that, and he's saying that he hasn't seen this from much teams, but he's saying that like their defensemen get so in the play that like on certain plays on like even like a dump and chase, you're gonna see like Seabrook behind the net.
Wow.
Like it's odd, and then I was wondering, like, oh, you know what? Like he's got a good point. He showed like a couple of replays like during that period, and you could see like their defensemen were so up in the play. It was like kind of interesting. I mean, obviously, you know, your defenseman's gonna pinch every once in a while to make a play, but I'm talking about like these guys are there forechecking as if they're forwards.
No, but like the one big thing I realized with Chicago during that game, it's like you can really start to see the ages of Seabrook and Keith on the back end. Like they're not the players they were 4 years ago at this point.
And I think, I mean, obviously, just being a fan of hockey, I'm not a diehard Chicago Blackhawks fan, but I would say that a lot of their offense is going to be generated from guys like Kane, and especially on the power play.
Yeah.
So
yeah, Kane and DeBrincat, that combination is fire.
Yeah. When we wanted to talk about Patrick Kane, when we talk about players with insane point production this year and just point production in general.
Oh, and remember how Zibanejad scored in that game and it got called back for offsides?
Mm-hmm.
He scores later in the game to make up for it. I was so happy.
Yeah, I love when that
I was so happy.
That's awesome.
Like, honestly, I love when that stuff happens. Especially because, like, it was so close, and I'm just like, ugh.
Yeah. And we know right now the Rangers are on, like, a nice 9-day break, right? So they got the bye week.
10-day break.
Yeah. They got a bye week and then the All-Star weekend.
Yeah.
So I was saying to Mike before, and I was like, you know, like I don't really mind that much, considering that obviously the season is, you know, at whatever. We're not expecting any playoff, you know, or anything like that, so we don't really care that much. But I was like, if it was a very like competitive season, the Rangers were hot, and then they had a bye week, even though they were going to get a week that they would have been off, I would have been kind of pissed.
Yeah.
Because that is their luck. Like, what are the chances that they would have a bye week followed up by a week they would have already had off?
Yes.
I would have rather have seen them get the break in a time where they had more games, you know, after a rough stretch of like road games or something like that. Then they had a week off.
Yeah.
I would prefer that, but you know, whatever. At this point, it doesn't really matter. But
No, don't get me, like, I'm all in favor of a high draft pick this year, but I honestly, it was good for the young players and like the locker room in general to go on that 3-game winning streak heading into the break.
That's the only thing. I mean, I want to see the Rangers win, obviously, because I love watching the games.
Same.
So when they get destroyed, it's honestly just like devastating to even watch it. It makes me not want to watch it. So I'd rather see them actually go out there and like play close games and lose than them just going out losing like 7-0.
You know, the funny thing about like being like
And
excited
as a fan, and sorry to cut you off, but as a fan, it's more like, in a way, it's like if they go out there and battle and they lose, and then as a fan's perspective, you're like, you know what? They're playing good. They're losing. It's honestly better anyway because we're going to get the better draft pick. I mean, I'm not really a big fan of the tanking, only because it just sucks to watch.
It does. The funny thing about like being excited to watch the Rangers games, I would say for a good month and a half, like even though I was watching some of the games, I had no motivation to watch the games. And then out of nowhere, like 2 weeks ago when we played Columbus in that 7-5 loss, I remember texting you. I was like, dude, I don't know why, but I'm extremely hyped for the game tonight. And then like ever since that game, like I have like a renewed energy to watch the games again, like out of nowhere.
Yeah. Well, now it's nice now because now they got a little win streak going. And even just to see like new guys in the lineup, that's like a whole other thing makes you want to watch. Even just Lindgren, even if it's Lindgren, like who cares? guy you acquired in a trade last year, you want to see what he's got. So
Yeah, exactly.
so far so good. And we didn't even talk about the Boston game. Now that I think about
Let's do it.
So we win 2-1.
3-2.
3-2. Oh my
Yeah.
God, I'm all over the place today. 3-2. Sorry.
Yeah. No, the Bruins scored late in the first period with 2 minutes left? 2:32 left, and then Hedl pulls out the move that he pulled out against Chicago yet again. That was great to see. And then after he puts the puck in, Charlie McAvoy decides to be an idiot. And
lazy.
Charlie McAvoy decides to be an idiot and hit Philip Hedl into Tuukka Rask. And alas, Tuukka Rask had a concussion right then and there.
Yeah. That's just one of those
Point
plays.
in case why you do not hit opposing teams' players into your goalies.
Yeah, that just it's like I was trying to look at it and see if it was sensible. Was it momentum?
No, if you look at the replay,
yeah, he probably
if
could have turned.
McAvoy does not touch Hedl,
Oh yeah,
definitely there's no contact.
I'm just glad to see that there wasn't some stupidity called on it, no goaltender interference penalty for Hedl. I was glad that nonsense didn't happen. At
the
least
puck was in the net already.
I know, but still, they would come up with some dumb. They would give him a penalty after or something.
Yeah, they would.
But yeah, that made no sense. And then he was trying to say that he didn't even touch him. McAvoy, you sent me the article, didn't you? He was trying to, unless I saw it in the paper.
You might have seen it. I don't remember sending you anything.
Yeah, let me pull it up right now. Actually, now that I remember, I think it was Matt that actually sent me it.
Which Matt? G or C?
Matt Cantos.
Oh, all right.
Oh yeah. This is what McAvoy said after the game. He brought it to the net and he jumps there. I had two hands on my stick and I don't feel like I shoved them at all.
Yeah.
You hate to see it, obviously.
You don't feel like you shoved them at all. If you don't touch him, there is no contact.
Yeah.
This is what I hate when players do that.
Yeah.
It's just don't touch him. And none of that would have ever happened. You would still have.
Did he jump?
Yeah,
he jumped, but it was to not get tripped over the goalie's stick, which is fine. But just shoving him into the goalie thing, that just made it even worse because now he's elevated now in the air.
Yeah.
And then it was more of a headshot actually to Rask. That's why he probably got the concussion. But that's unfortunate. I don't really like Boston.
Actually, one of our high school teachers, Mr. Hopkins, he put on Facebook, it was a call of that play from the Bruins commentators, and he's like, "Oh, I can't stand these commentators. They're just they're saying that was all Hedl's fault and everything." I'm just like, are you really that ignorant to the point where you're not even gonna acknowledge that?
Yeah.
That McAvoy touched them? Really?
Yeah, exactly. Because you know what? If he hadn't pushed them forward, like you said, I think Hedl would have probably just cleared the net. So
no, literally, if you were paying close attention, Hedl was not gonna touch him.
Yeah.
If McAvoy didn't hit him, which is that just pisses me off even more that people are saying.
And the thing was it wasn't even a justifiable hit in the fact that the puck was already in. So in my eyes, that's a retaliation hit for him scoring.
Yeah, I guess so.
I mean, that's how I saw it anyway. Some guys kind of just lose their shit when they score, especially if they're coming back on D. I don't know.
And just that Philip Hedl goal, that put Hedl as the third teenager in New York Rangers history to score 10 goals in a season. One of those teenagers was Alexei Kovalev, who was a good player on that 94 team.
Yeah, he was.
That's good company right there. I forgot who the third teenager was, but it was somebody important.
Speaking of Kovalev, just kind of off topic, but if you want to see something filthy with Kovalev, just go on YouTube and just type in
the Warrior video.
Kovalev of Warrior.
Oh, video. I remember the first time you showed me that. I was like, "Yo,
so
this guy's sick."
But you want to move off the Rangers?
Oh, I got it.
Or you got something else you got to say?
I wanted to say one more thing, but I apparently can't find the notes
in
my phone.
Well, then we didn't even really go hard on it, but that was obviously Hank's game. I mean, he was just lights out.
The other thing I remember what I wanted to bring up. There was a face-off in the Bruins zone in the second period where Kreider intentionally comes into the circle, so Zibanejad gets kicked out of the face-off circle. Lo and behold, Matt Zuccarello comes in to take the face-off, wins it cleanly against Patrice Bergeron. And then what happens? Brady Shea Zuccarello wins the face-off clean, takes a shot from the point for Zibanejad to intentionally deflect. Goal. So Zuccarello, face-off win, shot by Shea, deflected in by Zibanejad. That was pretty. That was beautiful.
I didn't even know that I didn't even see that. So I'm glad you brought that up because that just adds to the point that Zuccarello is on the upswing. Wow, and then on top of it, it's against Bergeron, who's arguably probably led the league in face-off percentage.
And you want to know the funny thing? He was actually having a very good face-off game, Bergeron, and he loses that draw, and it ends up in the back of their net a couple seconds later. How crazy is that?
That's insane.
And then, of course, the Bruins actually went about 8 minutes without a shot on goal in that second period. I also want to put that up there.
I remember you texted me that as well.
And then, of course, Marchand, of all people, ties it up with a couple minutes into the third, and I was just so pissed because it's Marchand.
Yeah, my dad was flipping out about that too. It's like, this bad, everybody has to score. That was the best part.
And then Mika Zibanejad just snipes one 9:05 into the third to give the Rangers the lead.
Mika Zibanejad, what
it's a power play goal.
Sam Rosen. I'll never forget. I always bring this up with my brother because we always laugh at it. It was like one game. I think Neil Pionk scores, and he's like,
"Wait, was it the coast-to-coast goal?"
No, it wasn't that one. It was just like a wrist shot from the point, and you could like clearly tell it wasn't Zibanejad. Like it was Pionk. Not only the fact that they wear completely different numbers, but he's like, Neil Pionk, what a sniper. We're just like, what? Dude, it wasn't even close.
Honestly, I kind of love when that happens.
Yeah, he does. Like, if you ever like really like closely pay attention, I don't want to like throw him under the bus because I think it's awesome. But sometimes he just like who messes it up so badly, like the names. It's freaking hilarious.
Oh, wait,
not that it's an easy job.
Did I text you the other night about Dave Maloney pronouncing Yogi Haryu's name as Yarhuki?
Oh my god!
I was literally like, I noticed that live in the intermission report. I lost it. I was laughing so hard. Oh, that was great. Like, that was legit. Like, just for him to butcher that name that badly was just phenomenal. It was phenomenal.
When the Rangers do come back, though, we got some games against our own division, which should be fun. We got Philly and Jersey.
Yes, we do. But here's the thing. Do we want to lose now to those teams for draft pick purposes? I mean, personally, I don't want them to lose, but at the same time,
it is what it is at this point.
I understand and know that a higher draft pick is better.
Do you honestly think,
though,
that the Rangers are just going to go out there and just throw the games?
Oh, no, absolutely
yes,
not.
I can't see it. Not. Like, it's going to be, if they lose, it's going to be a natural thing. Like, I think they want to win. I mean, I don't know.
They definitely do.
I don't know if they're going to hit the playoffs at this point.
No, the three-game winning streak going into this 10-day break, which we're, 4 days in now or 3 days in? Yeah. Well, like, it's good. That doesn't really get 2 weeks. Talking to the mic, baby. Talking to the mic.
The only person that doesn't get the 2 weeks, I guess, would be Hank because he's flying.
Oh, yeah, All-Star game.
I'm honestly have no interest in even watching the All-Star game. Like, I'll probably watch the skills competition, but even that's kind of like, Without Ovechkin, I'm kind of disappointed.
Yeah, like the hardest shot's going to be like so boring without Weber, Chara, Ovechkin. But literally, like Ovechkin, like never even comes close miles per hour wise to winning that. No. But he is a tank, though. He is a goal-scoring tank.
Did Laine make the All-Star team?
Dude, honestly, like I haven't really been paying attention to the All-Star stuff. It's just once I started seeing players dropping out left and right, it's just like, nah, I'm done. I'm done.
It's ridiculous.
It's like I'll just watch it maybe and like be surprised who's there if I'm watching it live. That's about it. So speaking of those big shot guys, let's move into the third topic we wanted to talk about today: the uptick in goal scoring and point producing. And also, I just want to point out that the uptick in goal scoring, Tomas Hertl and Alex Ovechkin both had hat tricks last night in a 7-6 Sharks win, but Hertl outdid Ovechkin by scoring the tying goal with literally a second left and then potting the hat trick winner in overtime, which was just insane.
Yeah, that game, like we were saying before, I was like, I wish that game was on NBC Sports Network over Edmonton versus Detroit.
Yeah, no, these
That was kinda just
decisions sometimes
disappointing.
are just like,
But
what is going on?
yes, that was a goal scoring frenzy. That was
Oh, yeah.
insane. I mean, but we're starting to see more games like that every single.
Is it just me, or is like are hat tricks just off the charts this season?
Yeah, dude. I even we brought it up in like an earlier episode. Johnny Gaudreau already had like 3 hat tricks this year, dude.
Yeah, and that was Ovechkin's third of this season, and he's got 36 goals now. And
he's in the lead, obviously, right?
I'm pretty sure, I'm like 99% sure. But that begs the question, can Ovechkin get 60 this year? I believe he can. It's just a matter of will he.
Yeah. I think I mean
he's definitely getting 50 unless he gets hurt.
I just think I think this season is going to be the first
debate.
season in a little while now that we're going to have multiple people that are going to hit 100 points.
No, that happened that might have happened last year actually.
Well, the season before that, I know Connor McDavid only had like 100 something, and he won. And I don't think there was another person that actually had 100 points. But I'm just bringing that point in the fact that like even like 10 years ago, like you're talking about, there would be like 10 guys that would have 100 points.
Yeah, true.
There was always a lot more. I think the point production
it slipped for a little bit. It
definitely
fell off. I'm pretty sure last season alone, I think Kucherov broke the 100-point mark.
Oh yeah, Kucherov. Yep. Mm-hmm.
There was why can't I remember anybody off the top of my head? McDavid was certainly one of them.
Yeah, I mean,
did Kopitar get 100 points?
He was up there. I know he was in the high 90s. I don't know if he hit 100.
No.
But just even this year, yeah, you got. Just looking at the stats, it makes me laugh.
One thing I find funny about this is I clearly remember in 2013-14, Crosby had 100-something points, and the 2 and 3 players for the Art Ross Trophy that year were Ryan Getzlaf and Claude Giroux. And if I remember correctly, Getzlaf had 87, and he was second. If you go back to this past year, if you had 87 points, you were barely cracking the top 10 if you were cracking the top 10.
Yeah. I mean, and just to give you an indication of like where the points are headed this year, you have Kucherov's in the point. He's a points leader right now. He has 78 points. That is insane. Dude, we're not even at the All-Star. Well, we're about to be, but that's just out of control, dude. And then behind him, just to give you guys the top 5 right now in points, take a guess who's second.
McDavid.
Close. He's third. Johnny Gaudreau's got 73. Actually, there's actually like a 3-way tie. It must be based on games played or whatever, but they all have 73. McDavid, Rantanen, and Gaudreau, and Patty Kane. And actually, a couple of things I want to bring up about Patty Kane that I didn't when we were talking about Chicago. Last year he had 76 points, and we were thinking about like, you know what, like Kane's never been like overly impressive with point totals, except in 2015-16 when he had the most.
What was it, 106?
Mm-hmm. But like even that, like he was always like a high 70s. He had hit 88 points one year. He was never like overly over the top with the points.
Yeah, you want to
know?
So
just to say that he had decline in points, like listen, he still put up 76 points. That's really not that bad,
especially Chicago was last year.
He's probably going to hit, I would say, 100 this year. I'm going to guess he might hit.
How many points does he have again?
He has he has 71 points already.
71.
So he almost already matched his totals from last year, and he's played like 32 games less.
Wow.
So that just goes to show you how impressive he's been this season. And another thing I want to bring up with him, he's got like a 9-game point streak right now. He in a 9-game point streak, he's got like 22 points.
Wow,
that's insane.
There's been a lot of players this year who have gone on like double-digit point streaks, like out of nowhere.
Yeah,
and like Kucherov, I'm pretty sure did it. Hoffman did it. Mike Hoffman did it.
Yeah,
like Patty Kane probably is gonna do it. Like, there's been a bunch of players where I'm just like, wow. Like, I don't remember, like, this ever happening.
Yeah.
Since I started watching in 2011-12.
It's funny, like, and just to go show you, like, how even some more of these, like, future guys are taking over. Yeah. And I want to say, like, the stars are starting to fall off, but I just find this funny. Like, this has been the first time, at least in a little while, that I can remember seeing Crosby and Ovechkin 16th and 17th on points lists. That's insane. That's kind of funny.
Well, I mean,
And listen, they're still having filthy years.
Ovechkin still got the goal scoring.
Oh yeah, of course. But even Crosby, I mean, Crosby's got 57 points. That's still filthy.
Yeah.
But it's just funny, like, just to show you how these guys are just taking it to the next level. It's insane.
Oh, yeah.
What else I want to look up right now? Because we were talking about goals. Yeah, Ovechkin's the goal leader. He's got 36.
Jesus.
So who's behind him? Because I'm curious.
Is it Gaudreau, by any chance?
Let's find out.
I honestly
I would
think
say it's
might
either
be right.
Johnny Hockey or it's going to be, I would probably guess Skinner. But
Oh, yeah, Skinner, too. Like, this goal-scoring onslaught came out of nowhere from him. Like, this much.
yeah. I
Came
mean,
out
well,
of
this
nowhere
just
from
adds
him.
to the point that, yeah. Oh, actually, no, we're wrong. Oh, shit.
Who is it?
It's same thing, actually. It's like they're all kind of tied for goals. You got
Let's hear it.
Braden Point, Tavares, Skinner all have 30 already.
Wow.
Johnny Gaudreau's got 29.
Wow.
Patty Kane. Yeah, I mean, the goal scoring, and I'm like, what is it? Like, why is it going up? Do you think it really has anything to do with the goalie's equipment? Like, do you think that's part of the reason why? Or
I mean, it could be, but I honestly think that like the league is just at a point where it's so skilled right now,
yeah,
to the point where it's like it's harder.
definitely.
for
I agree
goalies
with
more.
I agree with
more
that.
now than ever.
I agree with that. I think partially the goalie equipment has something to do with it. Not as much as I'm convinced on the fact, obviously, that the skill level just keeps getting better. But also, I think another important part to bring about is that the penalties this year
Ridiculous.
are out of control. I mean, everything is a penalty. Everything is a penalty. That definitely adds something into it. And I think that
more power plays, more scoring chances, more shots on goal, all that.
Just some of these penalties that they call nowadays are just insane.
They're
like, you're
terrible.
talking about everything that happens near the glove now.
Oh yeah,
is an automatic hook, and even like slash. Okay, back then I remember them calling a slash, obviously slash on somebody's hand.
If the stick
but even
broke,
if it's
too.
a slash on somebody's stick, it was always when it broke.
Yeah.
Now it's like if you even barely slash the stick, it's a penalty.
Boom, penalty.
Just stop. Like,
yeah, I know. Seriously,
I mean, there's some of these plays that are just like mind-boggling to watch.
no, like the love taps on the hands when they call that makes me lose it.
Yeah, because that's such a little baby call that goes on so much that you're gonna have to start calling that every other play if you want to start calling that.
Yeah.
Like,
and
I'm
then what
interested to
happens
see
come
what
playoff time?
Yeah,
they don't call it as much.
Well, that's what I'm saying. I'm interested to see what's going to happen towards the playoffs.
Yeah.
What this reffing is going to turn into. Because if they're going to start calling the games like that, who knows? We might see like 12-10 playoff games.
Oh god.
I mean, like
honestly, if that happened, I'd just be like, yeah. So I was alive for that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was alive for that,
Yeah.
kids.
And then in all of the insanity of the goal scoring this year, and just because I find this kind of funny because we're Rangers fans, but who do you think is first in
Kreider.
No. Goals against game. Like, I'm assuming this means like giving up the least amount of goals per game.
Wait, are you talking about goalie wise?
I'm talking about goals wise. Like, which team do you think gives up the least amount of goals per game this year?
That's a good question. Don't tell me it's the Islanders. Oh, fucking hell.
Yep. How insane is that? That literally just goes to I want to bring up
first place.
Leonard right now is just out of his mind.
The Islanders are in first place in the Metro.
I had to bring this up because it's just like I just can't even, like, it's so it's not really that mind-boggling because we know what Barry Trotz could do as coach, but like this guy Leonard is out of his mind, dude. 2 out of 3 weeks he's been the first star in the NHL. He is filthy. He leads the league right now in save percentage. He doesn't lead in wins because Marc-Andre Fleury just plays every single game for Vegas.
Yeah, pretty much.
So I don't think he's probably going to get the wins, but oh my God, dude. I mean, this guy's out of his mind.
This came out of nowhere because like he showed no signs of being this good when he was in Buffalo.
Yeah, but then again, I mean, I think you can put a lot of these goalies in playing for Buffalo. I don't think they would be that good.
Yeah, no.
I mean, I think
even though Carter Hutton's doing it,
my brother told me to check. I didn't get a chance to check it out, but
I just want to bring.
He apparently he had something on like Players Tribune that you should check out if you haven't seen it. But apparently he like struggled with like depression, like alcoholism.
I heard about it.
Like that,
I don't remember if I read the article or not.
I thought it was cool though to see that the Islanders fans were giving him giving them some love the other night at the Coliseum. That was actually pretty sick.
I just want to point out that the Islanders now have more points than the Maple Leafs.
Yeah, they're on.
Which is exactly, like, I don't want to say I saw this coming.
Yeah.
Like, well, I mean, I obviously didn't see the Islanders jumping ahead of the Maple Leafs points-wise, but I saw this coming, Toronto struggling-wise.
Yeah, well,
because, like,
yeah, exactly, because of depth scoring and stuff like that. But
yeah, and, like, there's a lot of people now getting on Babcock's his ass for, like, lineup decisions, and deservedly so, and Dubas is apparently content with the group right now. I'm just like, dude, you need a defenseman, and you need one badly. It's like, if you keep the team the way it is, you're not winning anything.
yeah,
It's like, that's just the hard truth.
yeah, and even going back to East, Tampa Bay too is just
Ridiculous, man.
They're just on a whole other level with
now.
They're
like,
just destroying the division. Like, they're just destroying their division.
and the rest of the league at this point.
Yeah, and then of course, just we were talking about this the last time. They finally lost to a Metropolitan team, and of course, who was it? The Islanders, and they got wrecked too.
And the funny thing is, the game before that for the Islanders, where they wrecked Tampa, Rangers beat them.
Yeah,
at Barclays.
I know. Actually, that was actually the two games the Rangers. Even though we lost one of them, those are actually good games for the Rangers, especially considering who they were playing. I want to pull up the standings just because, like, I just need to see how insane Tampa Bay is compared to the rest of their division right now. Like, they're 16 points ahead of their division right now. That's
Dear
insane.
God.
Yeah, they have 76 points right now in their division. Toronto's second with 60.
Wow.
Boston's third. Right now, the wild card's kind of funny because it's Montreal and Pittsburgh.
Yeah.
And the Rangers are in fifth right now. And they're really not that many.
No, wait, fifth or sixth in our division?
I think.
No, sixth.
Oh, okay. I think this is wild card though. I'm looking literally just strictly at wild card. I have it pulled up on the NHL.
Okay.
But yeah, and then you were talking about our division. Yeah, Islanders have a 3-point lead now in the Metropolitan. I got to admit, dude, I didn't think that this would happen.
Okay, I don't want to sound like a biased Rangers fan, but like it's been a proven thing over the past couple years where the Islanders have pretty much fallen apart after the All-Star break. Like, that's a thing. It's happened. I'm putting it out there.
I'm not arguing against it. I'm just surprised. I'm actually just surprised.
That's not me being a
Like, as a Rangers fan,
I'm salty Rangers fan. I'm just pointing out a fact.
As a Rangers fan, like, I'm honestly genuinely surprised that they're tearing it up.
And honestly, dude, if this was a thing for the Rangers, I'd put that out too. If that's any consolation for Islanders fans who might be listening,
I just like good goaltending, so like that's why I always have to bring up the Islanders, just because of Leonard. It's just out of control.
Yeah, no, he's playing out of his
like
mind.
It actually makes me want to watch some of their games just to watch how filthy he is. But I don't. But we had to bring that up with the whole goal scoring thing, because we were just looking at some of these scores. It seems like every week now there's a score that's like 6 goals at least. It's just out of control. Like,
yep,
it really is. I mean, it's great to watch, but at the same time, like when your team's in that situation, it's like cringeworthy when they give up 6 goals.
Exactly.
Like, that's the last
like
thing
when
I
the Rangers
see.
gave up 7 to Columbus.
That's the last thing I want to see is my goalie get lit up for 7 goals.
Yeah.
Like, that's just devastating to his confidence, and then also me watching the games makes me not want to watch them.
Yeah, exactly. All right, well, I think that's about it for this episode. What do you think?
I would say so. I think I've given my mind.
I love how we only had 3 topics to talk about, and we still ended up 55 minutes.
Listen, Mike,
time flies when you talk hockey, man.
That's true.
And video games, but not going to get into that right now.
Hey, we won't get into Shell on this podcast, but we'll bring it up in another one.
Okay, I'm going to get this out just because I feel like it. Kingdom Hearts 3 coming out Tuesday. I couldn't be any more happy. I've been waiting literally 13 years for this game, and I am going MIA for about a week and a half.
So, Mike, I might actually just have to take over the podcast single-handedly because Mike might just be that video game bender.
That ain't happening. You want to know why? Because all the podcast equipment is in my goddamn basement, damn it. All right, anyway, I just wanted to put that out there. And lastly, before I do the regular outro, the GOAT, Mark Stahl, he's the GOAT. I got to throw it in every episode
You
somehow.
have to just put that in
Even
there.
if it makes no sense
actually
like that.
We didn't even touch on him, so I'm glad we at least got some sort of credit towards Mark Stahl.
Hey, gotta. He's the GOAT, Mark Stahl, for a reason. Gotta include him on every episode of the podcast. And that is about it. That's all I got for this week. Thank you very much for listening. If you want to follow us on Twitter, you can do that we are at Backup Blue Pod. That is at Backup Blue Pod on Twitter. I'm picking up my Twitter game. I feel like I've gotten a couple good tweets in there throughout this past week. I'm working on it. I'm not great, but then again, I'm not completely awful. So if you want to follow us, go ahead. And I guess we will talk to everyone next week. Any last words, Brendan?
No, I don't have much to say. We're not going to have a Rangers game for a little while, so
I get a little bit of a mental break right now.
So I guess we'll see what happens. I guess I'll probably tune into the All-Star game, even though I said I'm not going to watch it. I'll probably tune into it, but I'm more excited for the skills competition. But I guess let's go Metropolitan in the All-Star.
I guess so. All right,
That's all I gotta say.
I am Michael Sparacino, a.k.a. Shades, alongside Brendan Mulroy, a.k.a. The Big Goon, a.k.a. Mulgoon. Thanks for listening. Talk to you next week.